Startup Report today are Taylor Precourt and Rachel Brea from Whole Health Medical Group. Welcome.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
So you guys have been out a lot. You're doing a good job of getting the word out. I saw you at 1 Million Cups. I see you on social. How are things going with Whole Health?
Really well. Right now we're in, the fundraising part of the entrepreneurship journey. So we are definitely doing a lot of networking, be it on social media, off social media, getting out there, doing several pitches. We've hosted a few intimate investor roundtables and really getting a lot of feedback right now. The good and the opportunity for change. This is my first full startup company. And so I am welcoming all feedback and kind of going through it in iterative stages. And I think that we're really at the place now when we start pitching that ears are definitely rising and peaking in interest.
That's great. Well, let's dig into what Whole Health is so we know what we're dealing with.
Sure. So Whole Health is a membership-based, also tech-enabled medical practice that believes in caring for the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. So it's really that whole health, looking at functional medicine, be it gut health, the true root of the problem, mental health services, along with traditional primary care. So with Whole Health, our members only need catastrophic care when it comes to insurance, and we free them from the insurance copays and deductibles. So they pay a small monthly fee, and they have full 24/7 access to their physicians digitally, as well as monthly walk-in visits.
Okay, so there's some innovative stuff in there. So just so I understand it structurally, then the standard sort of would be that you have a catastrophic insurance, a very light insurance for really heavy things that happen, and the rest of the stuff should be taken care of by your program.
Correct. So what I saw as a patient, honestly, is I was paying my premiums on a monthly basis for health insurance. I was paying my copays, paying my deductibles. I was still getting a bill in the mail. Mm-hmm. And once I paid that bill, I would contact, for example, I went to the ER recently back in January for something very minor, but I still had to, be seen by a physician, paid that bill, called them. I said, hey, there's been a mistake. I already paid this bill. And they said, no, that was for the physician. This one's for, the hospital. I said, what the heck? And I was talking to another friend that's an insurance broker. And he said to me, listen, Taylor, think about it. You pay for, your homeowner's insurance. But if your AC breaks, that's not covered by your homeowner's insurance. That's a catastrophic policy. Same thing when it comes to your car. You're paying auto car insurance for an accident, not for your brakes or tire repairs or, fluid flush. So I thought to myself, why aren't we doing the same type of innovation within healthcare? And so what I'm wanting to do is free people from insurance so they do not have to worry about what policy they're on when they come to a whole health practice. They have full access to their doctors, and their doctors actually care about the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. It's not based in silos, and you get to know your doctor, which is something we don't have today.
So let's dig into the other aspects of that. So obviously, I think the traditional medicine is pretty clear what the healthcare aspect of it is.
Right.
So the spirit and the mind, how does that layer in?
Yeah. So what I found as a patient were two things. One is I'm being capitalized on by retail healthcare clinics. So CVS, Walgreens, Publix, when I'm, have something that has a acute care issue. So I'm not even going to my primary. And then when I am going to my primary, they pretty much just ask me, so how are things going? How are you feeling? And it stops there, right? They're not diving in any deeper. And when I've talked to a few physicians off the cuff and they don't realize that I was potentially interviewing them, they say, we don't care about that. We're getting paid by the insurance company. Mm-hmm. And the reality is the insurance providers are leaning in and capitalizing on us and saying, well, the reality is we just need you to be seen and fit these CPT or ICD codes, and we'll pay off the bill, and your primary care physician gets a cut. So the primary care physician, they're not talking about alternative or progressive medicine or functional or mental health because insurance doesn't always cover that.
Right. So if you don't fit into these codes, then we don't care.
Right.
So how does that express itself then in one of your locations? Who is on staff and what roles are on staff to deal with? Let's start with the mental and then we'll move into the spiritual.
Yes. So we have a psychiatrist on staff, a psychiatric ARNP, a psychiatrist. We have a licensed marriage and family counselor. We have an RN that is also well-versed in functional medicine, along with an MD and a DO, all living under one roof. And so each of these doctors are crossing over into varying specialties regardless of their particular designation. So your MD can speak to mind and body, as can the psychiatrist. So when we talk about medication management, we're not just asking, what, opioids have you been prescribed or what pills are you on? We're talking about what vitamins are you taking, what supplements, what are the superfoods that you're putting into your body? What kind of exercise are you getting? How are you sleeping? Has there been any type of personal trauma? Have you been through a divorce? All of these things that are really tumultuous changes in our life that typically our primary care physicians don't follow along. They don't know me as a person. And we're really flipping the script on that and saying, you have to be more personable in healthcare. Because at the end of the day, we are spiritual beings. We have emotions, I posted something recently that said, isn't it amazing that the body can't handle joy to where it creates laughter? We are emotional people.
And so if I can extract from that, then as much as it is adding the additional roles, it's about putting people in the roles that have that more holistic mindset.
Correct. Exactly. Our entire team is flexed on every service that we offer.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned posting. We work with a lot of startups, and there's sort of there's an evolving way that the startups happen and grow and get their name out there. And as millennials, you're sort of representing that way, which is heavy on social, heavy on putting yourselves out there, which a lot of companies are very successful in doing. So, and I know, Rachel, you specialize in that area as well. So as you grow this brand, how much are you conscious about yourselves being wrapped up into that brand?
I think it's the know, like, and trust component, right? So when you have a face to a company, when you have a face to a startup, when you see vibrant, women or millennials or whoever is involved in that startup on social media, the passion and kind of what the vision is behind the business, people are attracted to that. They want to learn more. They want to know more. They gravitate to it. And then, it's the consistency. It's how often are you talking about it? What value add is there, right? People are there for value. They're not there to see a pretty picture. They're there because they want depth. They want substance. And so I think that's the avenue that we've kind of gone in the social media route or in just marketing in general is know, like, and trust us. Understand that this is much bigger than we are. And the mission that we're on is to provide quality care, the future of primary care. We want a space for people to feel like they're seen. Oftentimes we're not, especially in the medical field, especially, I just went to the doctor the other day and I felt the same way Taylor did. I'm not seen as a whole person.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a problem with that, especially in this society now. People are shifting to the holistic space, meaning holistic, WHOL, whole person, mind, body, spirit. So really kind of painting that picture for our ideal clients and spreading that message is kind of where we've gone in the marketing route, in the social and just influencer per se.
Yep.
So you could chalk up, obviously things aren't great the way they are. And you use the example of it having to fit into the categories, which is a bad thing. But one of the reasons it got there is simply the efficiency of business. And,
yes.
And so the extra time it takes to engage, with people, or even as you market, because there is a conversation there to give them that depth. That's a partnership you have with your readers, and all of that takes resources.
Yes.
On the other side of that, you're coming in with a more affordable options. So you're bringing in less and giving more. And that seems like a challenge. How are you gonna overcome that?
Yes. So aside from our memberships, we do offer a la carte services to the community. So from a revenue perspective, it is sustainable and scalable. What we look to do is have a flagship location. And when we will be laying our roots in the Pinellas County area. Once we have a flagship location, we're going to take that model and actually license it out so other primary care physicians can adopt to become a whole health practice. But when it comes to really looking at the whole person again, and how is that a sustainable model? Primary care physicians at the moment, you might go to your primary care, but when you are running a fever or you have a scratchy throat, you're really looking at the internet. You're looking at some other source to educate you. And we're saying that shouldn't be the case, that you really should have a primary care physician like Whole Health Medical Group that can educate you on those things. So we will have, monthly newsletters that are a digital, facet to the business, educating you on varying, things that you can do from a holistic perspective or traditional medicine, including, Instagram stories. So we're constantly going to be feeding our members and our community, and at a national level, things that they can do on their own, because this is preventative health. That's why it's sustainable, because we're actually getting our clients to feel better, right? And they're still going to continue on with their membership with us because it becomes a family.
So it almost feels like you're redefining primary.
Correct.
You're saying this is what primary used to be, but this is what it should be.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean we're not meant to concentrate on all of this stuff that's under there, because these certain services still are purchased a la carte to make it financially viable. But the whole thing operates better because the core interactions are more correct, more modernized or innovative.
Yes. And you'd be surprised as well. I mean, right now in primary care, practice, they're really inundated with a ton of insurance paperwork.
Sure.
And the EHR systems that they're using are very cumbersome. EHR is electronic health record system. They used to do just paper files, and now they've gone EMR, and now it's called EHR. But I mean, so they're busy in paperwork. We're taking that away from our physicians, so they are capable of spending more time with the patients. So that alone allows us to kind of free up what you were saying, which could potentially be that gap. It kind of fills that variance.
And how are you planning to weave in technology and interaction with the service via the internet? How does that work?
Yes. So our clients, our members will have a membership portal that they can access to see their medical history, book an appointment, or contact their doctor via telehealth. They can also message their doctor if they don't want to be seen on camera, or they can have that face-to-face interaction. We also do e-prescribing. So anywhere you are, we can go ahead and send a prescription in digitally. So we're really taking the paper out of the practice. And the way that we're layering in technology feels very fluid and very organic, which is, very much a part of our core values. But I didn't want technology to be just in the face to where it feels very cumbersome. And then our website will have a ton of resources, some online courses that they can take. So potentially they could be taking something on, I'm feeling really depressed, and they can take a quiz that shows them on a radar, what does that depressive state look like? And then take an online course to help give them the coping skills, because that's what it is. It's all about coping skills. We grow up, we might have a splendid childhood. We might have a very, traumatic childhood. Everybody, or might be something in between. And it all comes down to those coping skills. And we're not necessarily raised with having those coping skills. So once we hop into life, right? Everybody says the same thing. Life's hard, right? And it's just about what are we doing to cope with that, right? What are we eating? Again, how are we sleeping? What are our, if we have social anxiety, what does that look like? How do we fight through it? It's really interesting too, because when it comes to social media, and I know I'm kind of taking a left turn, but I think it's worth talking about, is I interviewed over 25 local female entrepreneurs, and yes, I did female entrepreneurs because we tend to have a little bit more anxiety and worriness than men. And I asked them, what is that Achilles heel for you? And all of them said anxiety. And so when I asked them, and I anticipated that they would, when I asked them, why are you feeling anxious? Majority of the time, what's that root cause? And literally 15 of them said, it's because I care too much what other people think. Mm-hmm. And right now we're spending so much time on social media and other social platforms where we're really living somebody else's life and not even focusing on our own. And so that's the kind of conversation and that's the kind of truth that the Whole Health Medical Group is really bringing to surface and bringing to light, is that you're not alone in that. Everybody feels anxious at some point. Everybody worries about something.
And I think too, to play on that is going back to the food as medicine and really digging deep into the gut-brain connection. That is such a hot topic. There's so much research going on with that. And the component of the two together and how they work together. So that too is something that we're really, really, on the forefront of, is helping that individual understand, let your body heal itself. That's what it was designed to do. And here are the tools that you can use to do that for yourself. Because anxiety could be caused by gut health. Depression could be caused by gut health. Mm-hmm. There's so many different moving parts inside the body. So I think just to put another emphasis on root cause and really having that individual or patient understand that your body is so powerful and it's meant to do what it's supposed to do as long as you give it the tools to do so.
Yes.
And certainly that, that being the case for that high of a percentage of women entrepreneurs has to be multifaceted. I'm sure there's a societal element to it. There's a physiological element to it as well. So, and certainly when you look on social media, a lot of the content that's put out there is about not caring what other people think and dealing with confidence.
Self-love.
Yeah, it's certainly, it's a huge fundamental problem. So how much of that then, it feels like that also needs to be solved through some advocacy at the societal level and as an infrastructure, through the infrastructure of how we're brought up and how we exist in all the traditional gender roles, which were established long before we are where we are now with gender. So, how much does that come into your work as far as jumping out into the world and being an influence?
Yeah. It becomes a movement, right? So that's really where Rachel was speaking to your question about, being the influencer behind the business.
Mm-hmm.
We believe to our core that this has to change. And we could call it disrupting healthcare, but how I look at it is we're really just taking traditional primary care and blending it with holistic and alternative and progressive medicine. So it becomes a marriage of the two. Traditional primary or traditional medicine, internal medicine, it all has its place, but it goes back to that living a life of balance. And there is not a primary care, model out there today that is really on board and on that train to make it a movement so that people know about it, right? So if you're constantly, running, for example, every day and you're exercising, but you have bad knees, and until somebody says, running is actually not great for your knees, you can try this, it's just not brought to consciousness, right? And it also reminds me of if you ever get a new car, for example, and then all of a sudden you pull out of the dealership and you're thinking, how did everybody buy the same car I have? It's just that's now the make and model and potential color, and it's just brought to consciousness. So that's what we're really trying to do is bring out the awareness, and it does become a full movement. But the model itself is very simple because I know we're talking about a lot of things, but it's very simple. You become a member, you pay a small monthly fee. We advocate for you to have that catastrophic care.
Mm-hmm.
And through that membership, you have, your annual well visits, just like you would at your traditional primary care. You have access to alternative and progressive medicine. You have access to doctors that are well-versed on functional and traditional medicine and mental health services. So it's just all encompassing. I call it the one membership you'll actually use.
It's simple because the power is back in the patient's hands.
Sure.
And I think that is such a beautiful thing. Oftentimes we go to the doctor or we go into any kind of medical situation and we feel like we're being told what to do without them actually understanding again and seeing us for where we are.
Drilling down.
Exactly.
Given your observations with confidence and with what other people think and all that good stuff, let's get behind the curtain a little bit with you as founder and growing this company and having to deal. I will say, just because it takes time to amass wealth, a lot of the money out there is older money, and you're bringing a newer concept. We can get into the demographics of the people who have the money, but I think they're, we know who they are. And
Sure.
And so you're bringing this new thing and this new way of doing business and this new energy. What's it been like interpersonally to have to face that, and what's that ride been like for you?
It's really interesting that you say that because I had a conversation with a mentor of mine recently, and they said, "I'm so excited for you. You're really, being fearless."
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's really what this takes. It's the Brene Brown saying of, when your feet hit the floor in the morning, do you have more courage over comfort? Or I would say, I have more faith than fear.
Mm-hmm.
But recently, this particular mentor said, it's you against the rest of the world when it comes to, trying to shift medicine. And I didn't flinch. I said, I know.
Yeah.
But nothing great started in your comfort zone. We know this. We know this as people, and we know this as entrepreneurs. And I'm not saying entrepreneurial life is for anybody. And I'm not saying that just anybody can wake up one morning and say, I want to start a medical practice. I get some pushback, very, very little, but some pushback that are the people that are fearless enough to tell me what they're really thinking, right? And they'll say, but you're not a doctor. And I said, but isn't that the beautiful thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the patient, right? Because the reality is I'm wanting to use my expertise as a a woman in business, or just as a serial entrepreneur, and saying I need to put these experts that are in gut health, functional medicine, these physicians that they're not employed by a company like Whole Health right now because there isn't one.
Right.
I have physicians contacting me all the time saying, when are we open? Right? We're ready to dive in, right? Let's put in our notice. Because they're so thrilled to finally be practicing the kind of medicine that truly helps the individual at a whole level. They didn't go to 10 years, 15 years of school
Sure.
to be expert in insurance. But when it comes to being an influencer in the background, I really just try to tell people my story, and it's that trust, like, and know me. But I definitely have to be fearless every day. There's a lot of ambiguity when it comes to entrepreneurship. But I definitely keep my anxiety very low. I keep it at bay. In fact, I have a little saying that says, self-doubt, get the out, because the reality is I can't doubt the situation, because I know, in my gut, no pun intended, that this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm meant to do. And I'm not willing to quit or back down.
And I think that highlights kind of sometimes it doesn't really get put out there, the two ways that you build courage. And one is on the front end with just brute, the standard definition of I'm gonna be strong and tough it out. But on the back end, you're building wisdom, you're building knowledge. And when people, come at you, as long as if you're relying on the first one only, then you're constantly defensive, and everybody's words have the same weight, because you're not considering the value of the words. But when you can come at it from the other side by growing your expertise, then you can actually value the words and say, that's just, how would I ever feel bad about that? It's so dumb.
Very true.
And then on the flip side of that, as you live in that world, even if people do come with valid things, then that actually becomes a valuable thing to you, because you can use it.
Something that was, I can't say immediately validating, but recently validating, is we went live with our CRM system. Right now, our website is just a landing page where people can go ahead and get on the waiting list to register for when the flagship locations open up and they want to get on the membership list. Within 3 weeks, we had over 250 members go ahead and sign onto the waiting list. Now, that's not obviously a full commitment, but it's showing interest. And it's something I'm really proud of, because it's saying that the local community is ready to receive this.
Wonderful. All right. Well, all the information for Whole Health is on your profile on Pitchlist. So
Yes.
anybody wants to jump in and see the social and connect with either of you individually, or see the other people on the team.
Yes.
I know you're working with Cheryl Hunter, who's
Yes, I am.
who's been on before, and she's fantastic.
Yes, she is.
And we'll keep watching and wish you the best of luck. And thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.